Good evening, friends. I want to begin by sharing a story, a small moment that happened to me not too long ago. I was in a meeting, and someone said something that wasn't just incorrect, it was laced with condescension. My chest tightened. My tongue got heavy. I wanted to defend myself. I wanted to prove my worth. But instead, I took a breath. I chose silence, not because I was weak, not because I agreed, but because I was no longer giving away my power to every battle not worth fighting. We've been taught that the loudest voice in the room wins, and the quiet H. That if we don't speak up instantly, if we don't correct every wrong, if we don't defend ourselves every time someone misunderstands us, we're weak. Quiet ache. We've been conditioned to believe that silence means defeat, that it means we've lost, that we've accepted something we shouldn't have. But that's a lie. The quiet H, some of the strongest, wisest people I've ever met are the ones who sit quietly in the midst of chaos. Not because they're clueless, not because they don't feel it, ache, but because they've learned the power of restraint. Because they know that not everything deserves a reaction. And they under strength. That strength is not measured by how loud you are. It's measured by how anchored you are. Silence doesn't mean surrender, It means you've made a conscious choice not to allow someone else's chaos to pull you out of your character, the quiet H. It means that your self-worth no longer depends on the approval or understanding of everyone around you, the quiet ache. It means you've reached a place in your life where not every comment needs a comeback. Not every wound needs to be shown. And not every battle needs to be fought. Choosing silence isn't about avoiding confrontation or burying emotion. It's about taking back control over what deserves your energy. Quiet H. It's about recognizing the difference between what requires your voice and what simply doesn't deserve it. I remember a time when someone attacked my work in a public space. An unfair, shallow critique. I could have defended myself. I could have gone point by point and dismantled everything they said, and I wanted to, badly. But instead, I paused. I sat with the sting. I reminded myself, quiet. You do not have to prove your worth to people who are committed to misunderstanding you. And I let it go. And do you know what I felt? Not defeat, not regret. I felt peace. Because my silence in that moment wasn't a retreat. It was a boundary. It was the most courageous response I could offer. There is a kind of dignity that comes from refusing to be dragged into every storm. From choosing to rise above pettiness, not out of pride, but out of wisdom. When you stand in silence, anchored in your truth, you are saying, I know who I am. I don't need to shout it. And maybe, just maybe, that kind of quiet courage, the kind that doesn't demand attention or applause, is the most powerful voice of all. Emotional intelligence is often misunderstood. People think it means always being kind, always being calm, always having the right words. Quiet H. But emotional intelligence isn't about being nice. It's about being wise with your emotions. It's not about suppressing how you feel. It's about honoring your feelings without letting them run the show. Let's be honest. There's a moment, a very specific moment, right after someone says something hurtful. And the quiet, something dismissive or something that just rubs you the wrong way. That split second between feeling and reacting. That's the space where emotional intelligence is born. In that space, you have a choice. You can fire back, you can let your frustration take the wheel. Or you can pause. You can take a breath and the quiet ache. You can give yourself the gift of a little distance before you respond. That pause. That's restraint. That's discipline. That's where emotional intelligence begins. Quiet ache. It's not about pretending you're okay when you're not. It's about saying to yourself, I'm allowed to feel this. I'm allowed to be hurt, but I'm not going to let this feeling make decisions for me. I'll sit with it. I'll learn from it, but I won't become it. You see, emotional intelligence is rooted in self-awareness. It's the willingness to stop and check in with yourself, to ask, what am I really feeling right now? Is this about them, or is this about something deeper in me? It's the courage to slow down the emotional spiral and say, I get to decide how I show up in this moment. And sometimes that means choosing silence. Not the kind of silence that avoids conflict at all costs, but the kind that says, I don't need to react to be real. I don't need to argue to be seen. I don't need to win to be worthy. Restraint doesn't mean you're weak. It means you're grounded. The quiet H, it means you're not giving your emotional remote control to someone else. You're not letting them decide what channel you're on. You're tuning into yourself first. Quiet ache. Think about it. How many times have you said something in anger or in pain and then immediately regretted it? That's the cost of impulsivity, H. That's the price of letting our emotions dictate our actions, H. But when you practice restraint, when you learn to breathe the wave instead of being swept away, you start to lead your emotions instead of being led by them. I'm not asking you to be a robot. I'm not asking you to deny your feelings. I'm asking you to own them. To feel deeply but act wisely. To understand that silence, H, in the right moments isn't denial, it's leadership. It's mastery. Because when you can feel everything and still choose to respond with grace, with clarity, quiet H, with intention, that's when you know your emotions aren't running you. You are running them, and that is where true power lies. Protecting your peace is not a luxury. H, it's not something you do when you've got everything else figured out. It's not something you treat like a weekend getaway. Something temporary, something optional. Protecting your peace is a daily commitment. It's a full-time job. And if you don't do it, no one else will. The world we live in is loud. It's chaotic, and the quiet ache. It's constantly asking for your attention, your energy, your opinion, your reaction. People will pull you into arguments that aren't yours. They will project their pain onto you. They will try to make you carry what they refuse to heal. And if you're not careful, in the quiet A, you'll spend your entire life drained by things that were never your responsibility in the first place. That's why protecting your peace matters. The quiet H. You don't owe everyone access to you. Let me say that again, you do not owe everyone access to you. Your presence, your energy, your time, those are sacred. They're not unlimited. And just because someone is loud or persistent or related to you doesn't mean they're entitled to your emotional bandwidth. The quiet HE, protecting your peace, means you get intentional about what you allow in your mental, emotional, and spiritual space. It means asking yourself every single day, what am I giving my energy to? Is this feeding me or depleting me? Is this mine to carry? It means learning the hard skill of letting things go that don't belong to you, and the quiet ache. Letting of the need to fix everything. Letting go of the habit of over-explaining. Letting of the guilt that creeps in when you choose yourself. Because here's the true thing. Not everyone will understand your boundaries. Not everyone will respect your silence. Not everyone will be okay with you choosing peace over performance and the quiet H. But that's not your job to manage. Your job is to stay grounded in what you know is right for your soul. Ache. To realize that you don't have to engage every time someone pokes at your peace. To recognize that walking away from noise drama, ache, or manipulation isn't weakness. It's wisdom. And it doesn't mean you don't care, ache. It means you care enough to stop allowing things that disturb your inner world to keep renting space in your mind. Quiet, H. It means you've grown to the point where you value your emotional safety more than someone else's temporary approval. People might call it acting like nothing bothers you. But what it really is discernment. It's the decision to respond to life from a place of calm rather than chaos. And the quiet H, it's refusing to entertain drama that you know will leave you emotionally bankrupt. It takes maturity to say, this situation is not aligned with who I want to be. And then to choose silence instead of self-destruction. It takes courage to say no to others, quiet H, but also the parts of yourself that still want to jump into every conflict, every misunderstanding, every opportunity to prove your point. Quiet H. Protecting your peace means understanding that your energy is precious and acting like it. It means saying no without explanation. It means turning your phone off without guilt. 8. It means choosing the quiet route even when your ego is begging to be loud. Because the more you protect your peace, the more clarity you gain. And with clarity comes confidence. Not kind that's flashy or performative, but the kind that whispers, I don't need to react to be okay. I don't need to be understood to have worth. I'm protecting what keeps me whole. That's your real job. And it's the most important one you'll ever have. Stillness is not something the world teaches us to value. We're taught to hustle, to strive, to keep moving, to always be doing something. In our culture, the business is worn like a badge of honor, as if exhaustion is a measure of success and constant motion is proof of purpose. But here's the quiet truth no one tells you. Stillness isn't a sign of laziness, it's a sign of wisdom. Stillness is where clarity is born. When we allow ourselves to stop, even for a moment, we create space. And the quiet H, space to breathe, space to feel. In stillness, the urgency dissolves, and what's left is the voice we've been trying to hear all along, our own. You see, clarity doesn't come when we're racing from one thing to the next. It doesn't arrive in the middle of the noise. It needs stillness. It needs silence. It needs us to be present enough to listen to what's actually going on beneath the surface. When we're always reacting, always scrolling, always responding, always performing, we lose connection with our own inner wisdom. We get swept up in the momentum of other people's expectations, emotions, and opinions. And before we know it, we're not living our lives. We're living versions of ourselves shaped by noise, not by truth. Stillness invites us back home. Quiet ache, it's in those quiet moments. In the early morning before the world wakes up, in the pause between breaths, H. In the decision to close your eyes and sit with the discomfort instead of running from it. That we begin to see things more clearly. We begin to understand what really matters. We begin to differentiate between what's urgent and what's important. Stillness allows us to observe without reacting. To notice our thoughts without being consumed by them. H. To feel our emotions without becoming them. It's a practice of presence, of attentiveness, of honoring what is, instead of constantly chasing what's next. And here's something else. Stillness doesn't always look like meditation or silence in a room alone. Stillness can happen while walking in nature, journaling with your coffee, and the quiet H, watching your child sleep, or even while driving without the radio on. It's not about what you're doing. It's about the state of being you allow yourself to enter. And the H, and that state of being calm, grounded, aware, is what gives birth to clarity. Because when the dust settles, when the noise quiets, when the distractions fade, what remains is you, your intuition, your values, your truth. And that's when decisions become easier. That's when you stop second-guessing yourself. That's when you realize you already know what to do. You just needed space to remember. But here's the challenge, Egg. Stillness takes courage. Because stillness means facing what you've been avoiding. It means sitting with the feelings you've been numbing. It means turning inward when it's so much easier to reach outward for distraction. And yet, it's in that exact place, that still, sacred space, where transformation begins. Quiet ache, where healing unfolds, where wisdom grows. So if you're feeling lost, overwhelmed, or unsure, don't speed up. Slow down, don't talk over the discomfort. Sit with it. Don't seek clarity in noise. Find it in stillness. Stillness is not an absence, it is a presence. A full, embodied, anchored presence that says, I'm not running anymore. I'm listening now. And what you hear in that stillness, that is your path. You don't have to show up for every fight you're invited to. This might sound simple, but it's one of the hardest lessons to learn, especially for those of us who are wired to please, to prove, to protect, or to be seen as strong. And the quiet H. We live a culture that glorifies confrontation. Like, the louder and more aggressive you are, the more right you must be. We've been told that if someone wrongs us, H. If someone criticizes us, if someone challenges values or our identity, the correct response is to jump and defend ourselves immediately and fiercely. That if we don't, we're weak, passive, or somehow less worthy. But here's the truth that takes time to fully understand. You don't owe anyone a fight. Ache. You don't have to respond to every jab, every slight, every misunderstanding. Quiet ache. You don't have to exhaust yourself trying to convince people of your truth when they're not willing to listen. Choosing not to engage isn't avoidance. And the quiet ache, it's a form of courage. It's a boundary that says, my energy is limited, quiet ache, and I'm choosing how to spend it. It's a way of protecting your peace and prioritizing what truly matters. When you say yes to every fight, you spread yourself thin. In the quiet, you risk losing sight of your values in the heat of conflict. You can get trapped in cycles of reaction that leave you exhausted, resentful, and emotionally drained in the quiet. But when you learn to say no, to refuse to show up in battles that don't align with your values or that don't serve your well-being, you gain something invaluable: freedom. Freedom to focus on what truly matters. Freedom to live your life on your own terms. Freedom to preserve your energy for the fights worth fighting, the quiet ache, and how do you decide which fights are worth it? That requires discernment. It requires asking your tough questions: is this fight going to move me forward or hold me back? Is this fight about my values or just my ego? Will this fight bring resolution or more chaos? Is this fight mine to carry or someone else's? And the quiet ache, learning to walk away, takes courage too. It means being okay with people misunderstanding you. It means accepting that not everyone will respect your boundaries in the quiet H. It means being okay with the discomfort of silence instead of the noise of conflict. And in that refusal to engage, in that choice to protect your peace, you actually win. Because you show up on your own terms. You don't get dragged into battles that deplete you. You keep your dignity intact. You hold space for your own growth and healing. This is not about being passive or disengaged. It's about being intentional, about choosing your battles with wisdom and grace, about honoring your energy as sacred, ache. So the next time someone tries to pull you into a fight, remember, you don't have to show up. You get to choose. You get to be silent. You get to be still. You get to be whole. And that is an act of profound strength. So here's what I want to leave you with. You are not weak for staying silent. You are wise. You are grounded. You are powerful, the quiet H. When you stop reacting to everything that stings, you begin rising above it. You don't have to fight every battle. You don't have to prove yourself every time someone doubts you. Be silent, smile, breathe, walk on. And when you do act from clarity, not chaos. Quiet H. That's how we reclaim our power. That's how we love ourselves. That's how we lead. Thank you.